Okay, everybody, welcome back. I felt the need that I just wanted to say that stuff in that previous video about the 10 years. Now I want to talk about the Dolly Parton movie that I was mentioning in that other video, Straight Talk. I saw this movie, I think with my mom, many years ago in the theater when it came out. I know I saw it in the theater. It's actually a very cute movie. I mean, it is. It's a very cute movie, and it's hilarious. Dolly Parton, I like her anyway. Uh, I liked her in Still Magnolias, which I know I did a review on years ago. And I talked about, it was Still Magnolias, and I went and seen that with my grandpa and my mom and some of her siblings and some of my cousins and stuff. But yeah, this movie, Straight Talk, it's funny. It's Dolly Parton, escapes from, Arkansas and ends up in Chicago. And it's a whole lot of, mistaken identity and making her into something that she's not. And it's just, this whole comedy of errors. And it is absolutely hilarious. And it involves a bowling bag. And it's just, that was, the funniest part. It's she gets mad at the beginning of the movie and takes off with her ex-boyfriend's bowling bag. It's why would you take the dude's bowling bag? That was, the only thing I thought, that is so hokey. Why would you take off it? If I was going to take something of his that would inconvenience him, I wouldn't take his truck or anything, but I would take off with, his work stuff, if he's a car, a electrician or something, I would take off with all his tools and stuff and be like, sucker, or something. I mean, not that I'm encouraging theft or anything, but I mean, if I was going to do something spiteful, I'd do something spiteful, not walk off with his bowling bag. That was kind of lame. But yeah, I mean, the movie, it's just so funny and it's so cute. But that car they ended up giving her, that little sports car, I'd have been actually, I want, a different car to drive. I wouldn't have done a BMW or anything. I would have done, not to bash BMW, don't get me wrong. I would have asked for a Caddy or a Caddy and a Corvette, and a Stingray Corvette. I've been look, get me a powder blue Stingray Corvette, and get me a candy apple green Caddy, and you could figure it out. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. Because I mean, that's or if you have to pick one, give me the Caddy, because I would rather have that kind of car, and it's a nice car, and Caddies in green look pretty. And if you ever seen a powder blue Stingray Corvette, you know what I'm talking about. But I didn't care for that little rag top she had. I was seriously. I was go get me a real car. That's not that's a clown car. I want me a big car. I mean, it's just because, if you ever tried getting in the car with my husband, you want a big car. No offense. Honey, if you're watching, no offense. But yeah, I mean, it's just, but the big thing is the mistaken identity part is she goes to this job at the radio station at the beginning, and she's, doing the phones, and then she goes back to get coffee, and the guys in the booth don't realize that she's not the psychologist radio personality that's supposed to be coming. She's just the receptionist up front. And they stick her on the air, not knowing that she's just this, and she ends up being this runaway success, and it's just all kinds of hilarity ensue, and it's just, I mean, it's, and to hear her in her Dolly Parton voice is the most hysterical stuff in the whole world. I mean, and that's what makes it just an absolute joy, this movie a joy to watch. And it's the ones that was they do how they do songs in the movies. Well, it's it's her singing Straight Talk, which the title of the song, or title of the movie. And it's so cute. And it's funny. I mean, it's, considering with everything that's been going on this year in 2020, this is a cute movie to watch. I mean, I laughed so hard watching this movie. I mean, it's just, I was like, oh my God. I mean, and it's like, like all the good actors and people are passing away, like, over the weekend, for example, Alex Trebek died. I mean, and it's just, I told Mom, I said, tonight, I said, if I had to pick between Alex Trebek and Pat Sajak, I'd pick Alex. Duh. I'm like, Alex is everybody's dad. He's the smart, witty dad. And I gotta tell you something as an aside, and I have to say this as an aside. When Jeopardy came on tonight, it's the Monday after he passed. Alex Trebek passed, that is. There was the producer from the show was on there, and that poor man was actually crying. It broke my heart. He's just, talked about how much him and everybody on the show absolutely loved Alex. And they showed the one bearded guy that was a foreign type. I don't know what he was, but he was from like Asia, I think, like India or Pakistan or something like that, maybe, I don't know. But the guy told Alex, and this was an episode shot like months ago, but just aired like in the last 2 weeks. The fella told Alex, he said, I learned how to speak English because of you. And I thought, that's a great tribute to Alex, because Alex had he had the best diction. He had, you could understand him. He didn't have some wild accent that you couldn't understand, and it was just, it goes into this, movie Straight Talk about, being able to understand her and people, flocking to her and stuff. I mean, that's how Alex Trebek was. He was just one of those guys that, you just loved to listen to him talk. I mean, he was smart. I mean, it's just like, I actually remember, 20-some years ago, back in the 90s, Alex Trebek got on Wheel of Fortune with Pat Sajak and Vanna White. And, I mean, I gotta tell you, you could tell the difference between Pat Sajak and Alex Trebek on the show. I mean, because Alex was just, proper. He was, just, very smooth. I mean, it was like drinking, like just the smoothest stuff you ever, he was smooth. Where Pat Sajak was, just like, like, dude, I mean, it's just, but of course they're, two different styles of shows and stuff, but, Pat Sajak, I hope he rests in peace, and my condolences to his family and to, the Jeopardy family. I hope, though, as an aside, my mom and I both think that we know he's got 32 episodes left, and the last episode is going to be Christmas Eve. We hope that when they go to replace Alex, that they replace him with Ken Jennings. Because Ken Jennings has his stuff together. I mean, he really does. I mean, that man, he won the championship of championships earlier this year in March, I think. I think that was March. It was either March of this year or March of last year that he won that. Because, that man is smart. I mean, that stuff was, I remember being in the hospital and watching that one episode, and I'm like, the nurse came in and I'm like completely wigging out. I'm like going, yeah, and I'm like, it's just, and I'm like, what is wrong with you besides the obvious? Like, what you're in here for? And I'm like, and I'm pointing at the television like I lost my mind or something. They're like, oh, you're watching Jeopardy. And I'm like, yeah. And then they caught me watching Special Victims Unit, which is another matter entirely. And they heard me in there cussing. I was like, I said, you GDM effing bastard. And they're like, the nurse came in and said, are you okay? I'm like, no. I'm like, give me a minute and I will be. Okay. No, I'm pissed at the television. I'm like, I was like, you have to excuse me, I'm pissed off at the TV. I'll tell why in another video. But yeah, I just wanted to, mainly, I know I went off on a tangent here. I mainly wanted to talk about the movie Straight Talk. But back to the movie Straight Talk. I do recommend watching it, especially if you want to watch something absolutely hilariously funny. And I think it's like either a PG or a PG-13. So, I mean, it's not an R. I think it's a PG. So, it is worth a watch. But anyway, I'll pause here and I'm going to have to shoot a video about that SVU. Okay? So, hang on and I'll be right back.